Hey all, hope you are able to see my screen. Students, I have actually uploaded a few assignments for you today. We are going to start covering procedure, and I have given a lot of documents pre-handed. I uploaded the assignment in the Slack, so you can start working on it. I have given a script called as TBL country vaccination. This is the table, and this particular script has a preloaded data set and a few procedure you have to build on top of this particular data set. That is what one of your assignment. That is where I thought like I will show you what this particular data look like. Okay, we'll move back to the today's agenda. Good time to start. I see 5 students online now. Is there a good time to start? Ramya or anybody can confirm? Shall we start? Okay. Okay, 3 minutes into the meeting, so let's get started. I see now 6 online. Let folks join in. So today's agenda is predominantly around the most important concept in SQL Server, that is procedures. Okay, we studied about function a day before yesterday. What exactly is a function? A function is a user-defined function is a code block that may or may not accept parameter, but definitely return a value. Is that what we studied? User-defined function is. Why do you write a function? If you want to do any computation, calculation, any static value calculation, pass an ID, get the employee name, pass the ID, get the salary. Those are stereotype operation, right? You don't want to write the select query again and again and again. Rather, you create a function that will be stored on the server, right? When you create a function, it will be created within the procedure block. It is permanently persisted under the programmability and under the functions. This is where we have seen it. And also we have seen during creation of a function, it may or may not accept parameter, but definitely return a value. Depending upon the return value, the functions are defined as a scalar function or a table valued function. If the return is coming as a single row, single column, then it is a scalar valued function. If the function is coming or the data is coming as a table type of result or multi-row or multi-column data set, then it is known as a table valued function. We have studied about that. We also studied about two of the important aspects of a function, that what you cannot do within a function. You definitely cannot write DML command on the table, on the direct table. You can do the DML on a table variable that we have seen, but we couldn't do a DML operation from within a function. That is a limitation. Why? The function is supposed to return a value. It is its objective is you pass a parameter, do the computation, return a value. You are not supposed to do any DML operation, DDL operation from within a function. That is a limitation of a function. Where can you call a function? You can call the function at the select command label, at the column label. You can write the function at the where condition label. You can write the function at the from clause also, if the function is a table valued function. Because it is a table valued function, it will return the data like a table. So select star from function name. You can do that as well, right? Now, why I'm talking about the function is, we are going to now study the most important aspect of SQL Server that you will be doing every day in, day out. Okay, when you join a company, you have to write programmatic block of code to achieve certain level of programming concept using either SQL or Python, or whenever you have to do the data engineering pipeline, you will be definitely be leveraging SQL procedure one or the other way. Okay, so we'll understand what a SQL procedure means, what is the purpose, how to create it, and how to use it. Okay, before creating all these objects, what I want to do is I want to create a table structure. So I have already given this entire script to you. Go to the Slack, you will find out something called a session 20 underscore procedure script. So it is already available handily. It is already uploaded, right? So if you want to download the code yourself and you want to try, you can do it alongside me. Okay. So say for an example, I have created this table, so I have to drop this particular table from my schema. So what I will say, drop table name. First I will drop it so that we'll see what is that. And then we'll create a particular table with employee ID, first name, last name, salary, and address. These are the 5 columns I want to store. Employee ID is is the integer type of data. It is the identity column I am specifying. Identity means SQL Server, you manage the data for the column, but I don't want to manage it. Whenever I will pass it, you will start with 1, increment by 1. It is the primary key column. That means 2 rules: data cannot be null, data has to be unique. Correct? Now, first name is a string, last name is a string, salary is an integer, address is a string. These are the 5 kind of data I want to store in the table. Done. Now I will insert a few rows of data. I've inserted 4 rows of data into the table. Control R, Control S. If you have created the table in the previous function class, you can drop it and recreate it. In that way, you will not see any error. You will see the table already exists. That means you must have created the table during the function class. I have given the script, and over there the same table was there. So drop it, recreate it. That will be the instruction. Now I want to see the data within the table. Okay. Do see, I have 4 rows of data available: 1, 2, 3, 4. First name of few employees, last name of few employees, a salary of each of the employee, and the address of each of the employees available. Okay. Now let us go back to our session today. We'll start studying about the SQL. I have predefined my SQL tables. Now we'll start studying about the what is the agenda today we're going to cover. We are going to cover the procedure and the purpose of the procedure and the syntaxes of procedure. Okay. What is the procedure? Stored procedure in SQL Server can be defined as a set of logical group of SQL statements which are grouped to perform a specific task. Do you remember what is the SQL procedure? SQL procedure, I can also say, I can write another line. SQL Server procedure. You can take this note. SQL Server procedures are objects that abstracts multiple SQL statements to achieve business objective. Okay. SQL Server procedure are objects that abstract multiple SQL statements to achieve business objective. SQL Server procedures can perform any kind of operation. By far, how many operations we have studied? We have studied data query language, we have studied data manipulation language, we have studied data definition language. We have not studied security control language. We have not studied transaction control language. Okay. So all the command that we have studied or not studied are supported. Okay. Within the procedure, you can do anything and everything. SQL procedures are the most powerful programming block that is available within SQL Server. You can do anything and everything using a procedure. Okay. What are the benefit will come to the last, because you will not understand the benefit till I show you the concept first. So you study through the benefit towards the end, but let's start with the concept of the procedure. So I will say it is data preparation. We have already done this. We have created a table with identity, structure, and everything. Now what I want to do is we want to create a procedure. What is the syntax of a procedure? We have seen a function like structure last time also. What do we want to do? A comment block where we'll say what is the procedure name, the purpose of the procedure, why did you write the procedure, what is the purpose of the procedure, who is the developer of the procedure, what example, how to execute the procedure. Okay. Then your code comment block over. Then you will write the procedure syntax. How did you create a function? Create function name as begin, end, and the structure of the function. But in the function, you always write create function name returns data type as begin, end, and within the begin end block, you have to mandatorily write a return statement. Is that true about the functions? In procedure, the structure is straightforward. Create procedure name, I have written 2 times as, sorry about that. As, begin, end, and then your return block. If you want to write a return, you can write it. If you want to write your logic, you can write it. So return is not at all mandatory. Logic you have to write anyways. Whatever logic you want to perform, you can do it. What is the logic? This logic block can be combination of DDL, DML, doesn't matter. Whatever you want to do, you can do it. DDL, DML, DQL, whatever you want to achieve, you can achieve through this particular procedure. Syntax is provide a definition of the at the comment label at the top of the procedure. Syntax is create procedure, procedure name as begin end. That is the scope. Create procedure, procedure name as begin and end block defining the code scope, and within the scope you will write the code. That is what the syntax look like. Okay. Now we'll go to the form one. How we'll now go venture into different forms of the procedure, and we'll see how can I write a procedure. Now I understood that I can write a code comment block as a syntax. This is a multi-line statement that I'm saying, multi-line statement, and within that I am providing a signature. What is the purpose of the procedure? Who is the developer? What is the date on which it is created? Example, how to execute a procedure. We'll learn that, right? I have given that. But now I want to create a basic procedure. What I want to create procedure USP get employee data as begin select star from employee. I created this employee table just now, right? This particular five 5 columns and rows based table we just created, right? Create table name, and then I inserted a few rows of data. What I want to do, whenever I want to call a procedure, I want to write a procedure or a script. Whenever I invoke it, it will return me all the data available within the employee table. That is what my requirement is. I want to write a procedure or a script block that whenever being invoked or executed, returns whatever data is available within the employee table. Very straightforward question. Give me a procedure, write a procedure that will return all the data or project all the data. We have projection and selection. Project means no where condition. Selection means either where condition or less number of column. Write a procedure that will project all the data from the table. Project all the data from table means select star from employee. That is what the projection. No row restriction, no column restriction. Okay. How do I create the procedure? Simple. Highlight all the block of code up to the begin end block, execute. It is saying there is an object called this exist in my database table. So what I need to do is, while preparing examples for you, I should have deleted this, but I did not. So let me do it right away. I will open up programmability stored procedure, delete, right click, delete, right click, delete, right click and delete, and right click and delete. Okay, so all the programmability components are gone. I know now the procedures are available within stored procedure, like the procedure or functions are available within the programmability block. The stored procedures are also available within the programmability block, and programmability and stored procedure. Okay, so now let's go ahead and highlight the form 1 up to the form 1 and then say execute. When I say execute, it is saying command completed successfully. That means my syntax of creating the procedure is correct. It got created. So how do I know where it is created? I will go to the database, expand database, go to the programmability, go to the stored procedure, and then I will say refresh. Can you see a procedure called as USP get employee data? I created a procedure with a specific name, USP get employee data. Okay, it doesn't take any parameter. We know what a parameter. Within a bracket we can specify an input value depending upon which we can do the computation. That is what is known as a parameter. So now we can see a procedure getting created. Okay, this is one way of verifying the procedure getting created. Now, how do I execute the procedure? I have given the example here, how to execute a procedure. Earlier, to call a function, we used to use select query, select the function name. But to call a procedure, you have to remember, you have to say procedure, execute procedure name. If there is parameter, then you have to say parameter name equal to value, parameter name equal to value. If you have a parameter. For this particular procedure, I have not specified any parameter. Can you see any no brackets, no parameter? That we have seen in the function, that we can define a parameter to the function. This particular procedure is straightforward. You call this particular procedure, it will return you the data. So how do I call it? Execute procedure name. I can call the procedure by saying execute procedure name. So something happened while when I call the procedure, it is returning me all the data that is available within the table block. Is that understanding correct? That is what my intention was also. I wanted to create a procedure. Whenever being invoked, it should return me the data directly from the table. This is what is the form one, where a procedure, you can create a procedure that does not take any input parameter and return some data from the table. Okay, clear about this? Clear up to this point? How to create a procedure? Students, anybody having any doubt? Can you respond back whether it is clear up to this point? Procedure is a script block. What did I say? Procedure is a script block written to achieve a business objective. What is my business objective? Whenever I call a procedure, it should return all the data from the employee table. That is what my business objective is. What is the purpose of the business objective? I want to build a report. I want to build a web application or a report saying whatever data is available within the employee table, you show me. Okay. Instead of writing a select query, I could abstract the complexity of my computation within a procedure. That is why a procedure is used. But when you do the procedure, a lot of things hiddenly happen. We'll discuss it later. I will talk about what are the benefit of the procedure later on. First thing, you have seen, if I write a select star from employee, it is not stored on the server. Is that understanding correct? You have to store it as a script file on your local machine. But think you are working in an organization where hundreds of employees are working on the same project. You have to share the script. How do you share? You cannot write a script and save it as a file and put it on a Azure DevOps toolkit or a Jenkins or a check-in checkout tool like GitHub or something. You can do it, but then it is not a very versatile way of doing it. How do you do or programming within SQL Server? The most important way of sharing code, the most important way where you can use reusability is by creating the script block within a procedure. Why? Because once a user creates the script block on the procedure, that particular procedure is created on the server. Anybody who could connect to the SQL server can see the procedure getting created on the server. Now think about this. You have installed SQL server on your local PC. That's why there is no other user. Think about this particular SQL server is installed in a company called as XYZ, and 100 of the employees can access to the SQL server. And anytime you create a procedure, that particular procedure is visible to all the 100 employees. Okay, or you can apply rules and restriction, who can see it, who cannot see it. That is the secondary thing, but by default it is available to 100 employees depending upon the restriction that is put in. Okay, but it will be available and it will be created on the server. The benefit is reusability of the code. Second, creation of the abstraction. Third, a procedure is compiled block of code. That means when I say create procedure name, this particular procedure is actually getting compiled. What do you mean by compilation? Compilation is a process in a programming language where the binary of the code is generated. I spoke about this during the session 1 and session 2. How does the human language is translated into a machine language? Do you remember, whatever code you are firing, it is looking like an English statement. But ideally, computer doesn't understand English. Computer understands only bits, zeros and ones, right? So what happened? Whenever you are doing this execution of this particular code, three things happening. One is a parsing, where it is doing a syntax check whether your code is syntactically correct. If the syntax is correct, then do compilation of the code. Compilation of the code means what? Translate the code written by the human in an English form or a Japanese form or a Chinese form into bits and bytes. What is that? Zeros and one. All this code will be translated back into 0 and 1 and then stored on the server. So next time when you call the procedure, the compilation will not happen. SQL server will know you call this, it will automatically call the translated code that is there within SQL server stored in zeros and 1 and it will execute it. So do remember, procedures are much more faster as compared to the SQL queries. Okay, the same number of statement you want to achieve by writing a script versus embedding the same number of line within a procedure will run it faster over a normal script block. The reason being, every time you run a script block, it will go through the parsing, compilation and interpretation cycle, whereas the procedure in lifetime gets compiled only once and gets interpreted multiple times. Compiled when it happen? Whenever it goes through a create command or an alter command, at that point in time the compilation happen. Other than that, no compilation happen. So ideally, because the embedded SQL query is already pre-compiled, that means a certain cycle that is needed to compile and store it is already taken care of. So what you need to do, you just need to execute the statement. Execute means what? Whatever compiled block of code is available on the SQL Server machine, you execute. That is why a procedure is a faster implementation of the solutioning versus writing a script block. Okay, it is an interview question. Please note it down. There will be a definite interview question why procedure is faster over a script block, or the interviewer can ask whether a procedure performs better over a script block or not. You have to say yes and explain why it is yes. Answer is procedure gets compiled whenever it is getting created or modified using the alter command. So whenever a SQL query gets executed, it first get translated into a it get parsed. Parsed means syntax check happens. Okay, during the syntax verification, it will verify all the syntaxes are correct. After the parsing is done, compilation happen. All the user written code is translated into bit and byte, zeros and one, and then it gets stored on the server. Then the execution or the interpretation happen. So executing a procedure, the compilation and the parsing and the compilation is already taken care of. Only the interpretation happen. That means only the execution of the query happen. That is why the procedure is faster. It is one of the intermediate same. I have repeated the same question 2-3 times. I hope that you have got it. If you have not, please let me know. Anybody have any question around why procedure is faster? Clear about this, student? Why procedure is faster? We have seen the form 1 now. We have created a procedure. How to call a procedure? Execute procedure name. That is how you are going to call the procedure. Now we want to create. Whether any question by far? Anyone? Student? Anybody having any question? Okay. Now let's go back. Form 2. Let's see what is the form 2 of this particular procedure. How to modify a procedure? I have created a procedure. Okay. I want to change certain syntax within that particular procedure. Do you remember we have how to modify a data structure within SQL? We have DDL command that can help you create and modify. What command in DDL help you modify? Alter command. So the way you created the procedure, you have to do the same modification in the same way. How do you do that? Alter procedure name. The same code block will be there. You are not doing anything, right? What would you do? In the programmability stored procedure, you have created the command. You can go right click on that. You will say modify. That is another way of modifying also. What it will do, it will generate the same script block with the alter command appended to that. While creating, we said create procedure name as the statement, but while you are saying modify, it will say alter procedure name, and you can change your code over here and then that works. Okay, so we'll do that particular exercise here. What I want to do, I wrote the select star from employee in a single line. Now I want to change it into multi-line. What I want to also add, set no count on to the query block. Let us see what does the set no count on in the procedure do. Okay, and it is the essential best practice to do that in SQL Server. Do remember, whenever I'm writing select star, when I call this particular procedure, it is executing the select star from employee within that particular code. That is clear. But when you do that, we know there is a result grid, there is a message grid. Can you see that? Whenever the select query runs, there is always two parts. The result come in the result grid. Any print command or any message, any number of rows affected goes into the messages grid. You have seen this two grid, right? Whenever I write a print message, it go to the messages grid. And if my select query is returning 4 rows, it will say 4 rows affected. And then the completion time, what time the query completed, it give me the messages grid. Okay. Do remember, if within writing a procedure block, if you write say no count on, nothing will go to the messages grid. Only the result will go to the result grid, but messages will be going as blank. It is the best practice to write set no count on as the first line of code within your procedure block. Why? Because messages are unimportant. Even if you don't want it, any programming is actually, any programmer will be looking at the data. Not he is not looking at how many rows affected or how many when the time it is affected. You don't need to do that, right? So whenever somebody calls the procedure, you do not want to show these messages, right? In order to stop these messages going back onto the code block, you can write a command called as set no count on. No count means what? You are counting how many rows affected. So no count means what? I don't want to count how many rows affected. And on means what? No count. I don't want to count. So I'm making it on. Okay. Set no count on makes that no messages or number of rows affected will not be printed back on the SQL screen. Okay. Clear? Now I want to alter my procedure. That means I want to change the script block. How to modify the procedure now? How do I do that? Highlight the block of code, alter procedure name, set no count on. This is a new line of code I added, and then I broke my select star from employee into 2 lines. Okay. Now I'm going to execute the code. Procedure compiled successfully. That means if I execute the code, again, I would be able to see the data. Can you see? I will be able to see the data, but let's go to the messages. Are you seeing the 4 rows affected messages chopped up now? Command completed successfully is coming, but because I have used the set no count on, now the 4 rows affected messages chopped off. Okay. That is the purpose of why did I introduce a set no count on. It is the best practice to use a set no count on in your code script block or a procedure. The reason being, you cannot write a set no count on inside a function. Do you remember? You can only write the set no count on a script block or inside a procedure. Okay. What is the benefit of writing the set no count on? The benefit of set no count on is going to ignore how many rows are getting affected by different queries that the procedure affects. That is the purpose of a set no count on. Clear? How do I modify the procedure? Alter procedure name as begin end and my code. Let me go back and check if I have done the change, whether the change is reflecting over there. Go back, refresh, right click, again do the modify. Can you see my whatever command I issued, set no count on, is a part of the script block, and also the line that I wrote, select star from employee, in one line, now it is broken into 2 parts, correct? So my alter procedure command actually altered the script. How do I see it? We know how to see it, right? Go to the database, go to the programmability, how to go to the procedure and find out the procedure, right click and modify. That is how you can verify the procedure in the script block. Now there is another method also, we can see the thing, and we have seen this during our function class. I said there is a system view known as information underscore schema dot routines. This is a system view. If you call this, it will tell you all the procedure and function available within the SQL server on the database. Can you see? These are the function we created that day. Some function, it is clearly going to talk about the routine type. Some are function. This is the function name. This is the function. This is the procedure. This is the function, right? It is clearly calling out what are the procedure and function available on the SQL database called as study, right? You want to verify what, tell me exactly what are the procedure available. I know the classifier is a routine type, right? Routine type procedure. So if I apply a filter, select star from information schema dot routines, where routine type equal to procedure, you can identify which is the exact procedure available within the script block. Clear? Just a second, please. Okay, we'll take a pause here. Any question by far? How to find the schema definition of a procedure using a code? You can use this particular query to find out the schema definition of a procedure. And even if you want to know what code is written, you can go to the routine definition field. You can find whatever code we have written is available over here. It is compiled and stored over here. Clear about that? Any questions by far, students? Are you able to get the concept? What is the procedure? Procedure is a script block. It compiled once, return and it is faster over writing any script commands. How to create a procedure? Create procedure name as begin end and the script block. Any doubts by far? Are you able to understand any doubts, students? Guljar, Kalyan, Mohammed, Pradeep, Manideep. Can you please repeat why procedure is faster than script block? That need to be answered with exact terminology. What do you mean by terminology?
Yeah, hi Raghav.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, me Pradeep.
Yeah,
which scenarios you're using in procedures in real time?
we'll see that. We have just started. We'll think about and you will see how you are going to leverage the procedure. Just hold on to this particular question. If you
Yeah.
want to, your question is, if your question, because what you have, I don't know whether you have asked it or Uday has asked it. Can you please repeat why procedure is faster than script block? I would say, Uday, please go through the recording one more time. I have explained 3 times. I don't want to, because there are a lot of students, I don't want to repeat the same statement one more time. I have already explained. Explanation is, once you create the procedure, it's get compiled and stored on the server. When you run a script, it always go for a parsing, compilation, and interpretation or script block, right? When you run a SQL query, when you do this select star from employee, what will happen? First thing, whether the syntax is correct or not will be checked, correct? Second, once the syntax check is happening, can you see this particular, can you see this parsing icon? Right icon, can you see this here? Execute, then there is a stop icon, there is a parse icon, control F5. Can you see this right icon here? I'm highlighting on my screen. That particular button is the first step. What it does, it syntactically check whether the query is right or wrong, right? If the query syntax is right, it will translate into a 0 and 1 form. Once it is translated, then it is to go, sent to the SQL Server engine to be executed. When it is sent, SQL Server uses execution plan to find out the data. Do you remember about the index concept? Whenever you do select star, SQL Server will use index allocation map to verify whether an index is available on the table. If there is an index available, use the index to find out the data path and use it, right? All these things will happen whenever you execute a blank select query. But whenever you abstract this blank select query within a procedure, your parsing, syntax check, translation of the code to 0 and 1, everything is taken care of once. It will be done once in the lifetime. And next time onward, it will directly execute the code. It will look for the execution plan, fetch the data. That is the only part that will do. That is why it is faster. Okay. Okay, fine. Now let's move on to the next segment. We'll see the use cases. There will be a lot of use cases and that will actually give you much more clarity. Why would you use the procedure? Okay. Now let us understand the second part. I want to create a procedure with a parameter. Past procedure I created without any parameter. I am not sending any parameter to the block. Now I want to create a procedure where I want to create a procedure called as USP get employee data for ID. What is my intention? I want to create a procedure. Do remember the procedure naming conventions start with USP. What do you mean by USP? Underscore user defined stored procedure. USP, user defined stored procedure. That is the nomenclature used across industry, either SP, stored procedure, or USP. USP for user defined stored procedure. Okay, that is how you should name your procedure. USP underscore get, add, update, modify, delete. You can do anything. Get means your procedure is supposed to return data. Add means you are trying to insert data. Delete means you are trying to delete data. You are trying to modify means update data, right? You can give these 4 type of parameter name or the signature to the procedure. I'm saying USP underscore get. That means by looking at the procedure name itself, I know it is a get procedure. There will be select queries written within that. Okay, naming convention is very important in creating while creating the procedure. What I'm saying, I will be passing you ID and I want to see for that specific ID employee data. Okay, so what I would do, the form 3, how do I do that? I'm saying, see another new syntax that I have introduced. By far we have done either a create procedure or an alter procedure. If the procedure is already there, you have to say alter procedure. But in SQL Server, there is another syntax that is supported. You can write create or alter procedure also. If the procedure is not there, you create it. If it is there, you alter it. That means create or alter procedure go at one go. The instruction to the SQL Server is, if the procedure is not there, you create. If it is there, you alter. That is what the definition of a create and alter procedure mean. Okay, create or alter procedure and the procedure name. It is a new procedure that I am creating. USP get as employee data for ID. Now I am passing a parameter. We have seen this parameter definition during the SQL Server function class, right? How do you pass a parameter? Open parenthesis, close parenthesis, and then a variable value that you want to pass in. So what I want to pass? A variable of type employee ID or type data type integer. I want to pass the procedure a parameter called as employee ID, and my intention is when I call the procedure, it will return me if the exact employee ID exists, you show me the data for the employee ID. That is what my purpose is. Earlier procedure, whenever called, return me all the data. Now I'm modifying my structure to pass a specific employee ID. I want to see the data for the exact employee ID, right? So let us create a procedure with that particular signature. Execute, create or alter. Anytime you do the creator and alter, it will not throw error. Why? First time it will create, second time onwards it will alter. Okay, that is where multiple execution is not saying the procedure exists already. Correct? Go back to the stored procedure, do a refresh. You will see another procedure getting created. And if you go to the parameter, you will see that it is looking for a parameter called as employee ID. If you open this particular procedure, there is no parameter. There is no parameter written from this get employee data, right? Whereas if you open the newly created procedure called as USP get employee data for ID, it is looking for a emp ID parameter that we have seen. We have created this procedure that is looking for employee ID. Okay, how do I call the procedure? I have explained. While executing the procedure, we have to use the keyword called as execute, procedure name, parameter, and the value. Okay, what you would say? Execute procedure name, whatever parameter it is looking for equals to the value of the parameter. You have to assign that particular value. Okay, so let's see how do I do that. Execute procedure at the rate employee ID is the parameter that you are looking for, and I am trying to look for the employee ID once data. Can you see? Now it is accepting employee ID 1 and returning me only the employee ID once data. My query is embedded within that. What it is doing? Select star from employee where employee ID equal to whatever parameter you are passing. If the employee ID exists, then it will give you the data. If it does not exist, it will not give you data. Say for an example, I don't have any employee ID 10, so it will not return me any data. But I have employee ID 1, definitely it will return me the data. Clear? This is one way you can create a procedure that accept parameter, single valued parameter. Any question on the parameter definition? How to pass parameter to the schema? Any question? Are you able to get it? Can I get some responses, please? Yes, no. Can I get some answers, response? Are you able to get how to define a parameter for a procedure? You have the code handy. You can also, you can try simultaneously while I'm explaining so that you can actually try it out and understand. Okay. Now, the fourth form. In case I have to do multiple parameter, we did a single parameter. Now I want to pass multiple parameter to the procedure. Okay, procedure with multiple input parameter. I will do the same, create or alter procedure. Now I am creating a new procedure whose name is USP get employee data for ID and first name. I'm giving the procedure name like that. Okay, what I'm saying, get employee data for ID and first name. Okay, and what I will pass? I will pass employee ID as parameter. Employee ID is in my table is data type of int. That is where I am passing integer type of data. First name is the parameter which is of string, so I'm passing first name as the parameter. Okay, so I will go for the fourth form. Yeah, here. I'm passing two parameter. One is employee ID int, comma. If I am passing new parameter, I will say comma, new parameter name and the data type and the size. If the data type needs a size, you have to specify the size. Employee ID integer and first name is the parameter. And then what I'm doing, select star from table where employee ID equal to employee ID, or I'm using or condition, or first name equal to first name. What I have written, if a user pass a employee ID or the first name or the both, you show me the data. If somebody pass employee ID as one, first name as Rahul, then I should see two data because I have two data rows. Let's see, right? If I do this much, then let's see what is there. Employee ID 1 is Mohan Chauhan. Employee ID, there is an employee called as Deepak. If I pass employee ID 1, it should give me one record. Or if I pass Deepak, then it should give me second record, right? So let us pass 1 and Deepak to the result so that I should be able to see two record set, right? If I pass 1 and Mohan, it will give me one record because 1 and Mohan is only one match. but 1 and Deepak is 2 rows, right? So let us see if I create a procedure like that, whether it is returning and behaving the similar way. Created a procedure. I can always go back to the stored procedure, refresh. I can see a procedure getting created called as USP get employee data for ID first name. Okay. Now how do I call it? Execution method, I know that. Execute procedure name. Employee ID pass a value as 1. First name I will pass a value as Bhuvanesh. Okay. Let's see. I can see the employee ID 1 is matching for this record, and Bhuvnesh is the first name matching for the record. Can you see? I wrote a query that say where employee ID is matching or first name is matching. So in this case, the first employee ID 1 matched for Mohan, and first name Bhuvnesh matched for the employee ID 3, right? That is where my code figured out this particular block. But in case I want to do this, how many rows I am expecting? If I pass employee ID 1 and Mohan, how many rows I will get? Only 1 row, because there will be only one matching record. If I pass another code block, I see you say 7 and 17 and somebody saying XYZ. There is no record set that is matching these two combination, either or, right? No records coming, right? So I'm abstracting my complexity of writing the SQL code. Whatever SQL query is behind it, nobody knows it. What table it is fetching the data from, what code is written behind is not known. What you know, you call the procedure with some parameter, you will get the data. So data abstraction is achieved. If you are doing your Python programming, that will come, that will happen maybe after this particular series, where your data engineering session will be covered a segment in Python that is known as abstraction, right? Or any object oriented programming has a concept called as abstraction. Abstraction means what? Hiding the complexity of implementation from user. When you see this particular code, you never know what table it is getting the data from. You never know how many lines of code written behind this to fetch the data. User only knows a procedure name, some parameter I will pass, and I will see the data coming. So all the complexity of writing the code is abstracted within a procedure name. So procedure gives you the fundamental light of abstracting the complexity of writing the code. That is what another benefit of the procedure. Okay. So we have seen the fourth form, how to pass multiple parameter. Whether it is clear, student, you have any doubts by far? How to pass multiple parameters? Students, can I get some yes or no? Any doubts? Is it clear? Are you attentive enough? Kalyan is saying clear. Fine. Let's move to the next segment. The last example for today would be, because we are going to span the procedure segment for 2 sessions. It is very complex. So I will show you all the forms. Okay. The today's another form, I'm saying multiple parameter. I'm saying the procedure with default parameter. I will talk about a concept called the, you can define parameters and you can default the value also. Okay. Say for an example, what do you mean by default value? Do remember, we have seen parameters within a procedure, create procedure, procedure name, then open bracket, close bracket. Within that, you write a parameter. But in case you want to default the value to something, you can say employee ID int equal to 0. If somebody doesn't pass a value, you assume the value is 0. If somebody does not pass the value of first name, you assume it to be blank. If somebody does not pass a value, you assume it to be blank. Okay. I wanted to show you one behavior. Okay. If my procedure need 2 parameter and I pass 1 parameter, it will throw error. Just see that. This particular procedure, employee data for ID and first name. I know it needs 2 parameter, employee ID and first name. But while executing, I am only passing the value for the employee ID, not first name. You see, it is saying procedure or function expect parameter first name, which was not supplied. It is clearly calling out it needed 2 parameter, but you are not supplying the value for the other one. What if I want to default it out, right? I would say that if somebody pass the value, that is fine. If somebody doesn't pass the value, that is also fine, right? I want to say that in that particular condition, you can default the value to some specific value. If you pass a value, that is fine. If you do not pass a value, I will assume it is 0. If you pass a value for the first name, that is fine. If you don't pass, I will assume it to be blank. If you pass a value, that is fine. If you don't pass, I will assume it to be blank. So I'm going to create another procedure whose name is employee ID, get employee data for ID, first name and last name, and with default values. And what I will do the same condition, select star from employee, where employee ID is this, or first name is equal to this, or last name equal to this parameter, whatever is applied. Clear? Highlight the segment of code and create a alter. Stored procedure, refresh. I can see the fourth form. I can see 3 parameters within that, employee ID, first name and last name, right? Now let us see the behavior. I'm saying 3 parameter needed. So I have to pass employee ID equal to 1, first name equal to something, last name equal to something, right? Instead of doing anything, I'm just calling the procedure. Just see, I'm not passing any parameter. It didn't throw error now. Why? First time when I was trying to do the same exercise here, I was only selecting for the ID and first name. This is the procedure. I did not default the value. Do you remember in this procedure, I didn't default the parameter value. So I made sure that somebody definitely needs to pass the value, both the value. If you don't pass, it will throw error. But in this particular block example, what I said, if user pass the value, you use it. If he does not pass it, then you assume some value or you use the default value. So by default, if somebody doesn't pass, you assume employee ID to be 0, right? If somebody doesn't pass, you assume employee ID to be blank. If somebody does not pass, you assume it to be blank. So what happened? The query executed as select star from employee, where employee ID equal to 0, or first name equal to blank, or last name equal to blank. That is where no data could come out of the procedure block, right? So if I do this, what will happen? Select star from employee, where employee ID equal to 0, first name equal to blank, or last name equal to blank. Why? Because I defaulted the value to be this. Okay. And if I pass the value, then it will fetch the data for me wherever the record matches, right? Where employee ID 1 it found, where the first name Bhuvnesh it found, where the last name Kumar it found, right? All the 3 record match. Employee ID match, first name match, last name match. So wherever the matching record found, it found the data and showed it to me. That is how you default set a value of a default parameter. Okay. Now we'll see the next step. How do you do the DML operation and other thing starting tomorrow? I will take a pause here because we are anyway spanning this class to 2 classes. So I want to take a pause and want to hear any questions from you. If you are, whether we are clear up to the form 5, how do you actually define procedure, how to create a procedure, how to alter a procedure, how to pass parameter, how to make the parameter as a default value. These are the 4 concepts today we covered. Any questions by far? Any questions? Anybody? Are you all clear about the concept today? Are you clear about the concept? All? Can I get a response, please? Guljar, Kalyan, Muhammad, Pradeep, Sai Vijaya Krishna. Everybody is saying clear, sir. Okay. Now, do one thing today. I have given you an exercise. Let me figure out. I have given one exercise today known as procedure assignment. Okay. Go create a procedure to generate uh, try attempt a few of these particular question. Okay, I have shown you the vaccination detail script, right? Use the vaccination detail script to load the data into the table and write a procedure to get the vaccination detail for a specific country. Write a program to generate a Fibonacci series number to a specific input value. Do remember, Fibonacci series start with 0 and 1. If you are not from the programming background, it is an interview question. So prepare this particular question. I wanted to tell you what a Fibonacci series is. A Fibonacci series starts with 0 and 1. These are the first 2 input value. And the third number is generated by adding the previous 2 number. 0 and 1. 0 plus 1 is 1. Okay. Now the next 2 numbers are 1 and 1. So 1 plus 1 will be 2. Next number will be last 2 digit. 1 plus 2, 3. Next number 3 plus 2, 5. Next number 5 plus 3 8. Next number 8 plus 5 13. Next number 13 plus 8 21. This is how the Fibonacci series is generated. Write a program to generate Fibonacci series number up to 500, 600, 700, and then when you call the procedure and say up to what number you want to generate, up to 500 it will generate the numbers. Up to 1000 it will generate the number. Up to 10,000 it will generate the number. So pass a parameter saying I want to generate a Fibonacci series number up to 500. Your Fibonacci series first two numbers are 0 and 1, and the third number is generated by adding those two numbers. That is what the concept is. Clear? So start attempting a few questions to create a procedure and start completing those exercises if you can. If not, then hold on. We have a lot of things. You can actually go through the script because script has all the code already available. If you want to actually do random surfing, you can do it. Try understand what the code is written. There is a lot of example already available, right? Tomorrow, starting tomorrow, we'll look for the template form. The form 6 till 10 we'll go through. Okay, and then we'll complete the exception handling piece of the code also. Any question before closing the session today? Already documents are uploaded. You can go through and find it out in the Slack. Fine. Thank you, students. Start practicing. We'll continue from form 5 till the form 10 starting tomorrow. Take care. Bye bye.